One thing that we have to talk about that you've contributed is first female to land snapuswipe.
Oh, it's my favorite trick.
What's up, guys? Today's guest is a world champion martial artist who just recently moved to Los Angeles. Please welcome to the JAMCast, Miss Mackensi Emory.
Hi.
What's up, Kenzie? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
This is like a very special appearance because you are our second female guest, but you are the first stunt woman and female tricker that we've had.
It's an honor.
I know. Look, you made it. Cool. Mama, I made it. Go text her. Oh, it's awesome. I really appreciate you coming by. And we kind of touched on it, and I just kind of dropped the bomb for maybe some people out there that don't know, but you just recently moved to Los Angeles full time.
Yes. Oh. I'm from California, Northern California, but now I'm down here.
Nice. So and what's the reason for the move? Is it
to get into stunts? So that's kind of my next goal. I've been in the sport karate game for so long, and I didn't need to be down here until now, so nice. I'm excited.
Heck yes. And so, like, had you always had this plan to move down to Los Angeles at a certain age, or did you just feel like the timing was right and just went on a whim?
I've always loved LA, but I think in 2015 is when I kind of decided, like, I really want to move down here and pursue stunts. But now it just kind of happened to be the best time to do it.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Stars aligned.
I know, right? And one of the reasons, like, I kind of told you about was, like, I want to have you on here for so many reasons. You serve a lot of purposes as, like, you know, a tricking pioneer for females, but also I wanted to see where you're at your career now, because I feel like in a couple years from now, it'll be a totally different story, and we can bring you on to talk about all the movies and things you're doing. So,
oh, that'd be cool.
Have you had any success with any jobs so far in LA? I saw you just recently posted a picture with Nana, the social media star.
Yeah. So I just worked for Ernie Reyes Jr., so he hired me on that job and got to film with her for a day, which was really cool. And earlier this year, I did my first SAG mocap job. So I'm really excited for that to be released.
Yes. That's super cool. And you just mentioned that you worked with Ernie Reyes Jr., who's a legend, obviously, in our communities and stuff.
Of course.
Did he call you because he knew you from a pre-existing relationship in martial arts? Or okay, awesome.
Yeah, so, and I had just seen him at the Martial Arts Super Show in July, so we had a long conversation. I think that just kind of brought that relationship back from me knowing him when I was like 10.
Totally.
When I was younger. So.
And it's crazy because all of us kind of pretty much view you as Kenzie, who's now grown up, but when we all used to know you, were just this little girl running around.
Right, I was 11 and hanging out with Denise and Danny Graham, you know, like
taking privates with Rudy and stuff.
Yeah, and Matt.
That's so crazy. So where are you from originally? Kind of touched on, you're from up in NorCal, right?
Yeah, Sacramento area.
Awesome. And when did your martial arts journey begin? Because you've been in it for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, so I started martial arts when I was 6 at Kovar's. Okay. So Dave Kovar is a pretty well-known guy in the martial arts industry. So he has a few locations, few schools. So I started when I was 6, and when I started, our school isn't a tournament school, so I went into it purely just to learn martial arts.
Just traditional karate.
Yep, and I actually got invited to do a buddy class, and that's kind of how I jumped into it, because I was a gymnast. And it's like the cliche, like everybody kind of gets brought to do like that fun buddy day class, and really from that first class, I loved it, fell in love with it, and I was like, oh, this is, like, I loved the challenges, I loved everything that came with martial arts.
So I got a question. Who's the buddy that's responsible for bringing you at the start of this journey? Do you still remember?
His name is Kyle, and he was actually a student in my mom's class. So my mom's a school teacher. Okay. So he was like, I don't really have any friends that want to go, and so he brought me, and yeah, that really jump-started my love into martial arts, and that's kind of when I still did gymnastics for quite a long time after that, because I was a competitive gymnast. So I got until, I think, level 9. I was 13. Okay. And that's when I was like, yeah, I'm going to move on to sport karate full time.
Dang, that's so funny. Well, shout out to you, Kyle. Thanks for starting the journey a long time ago. It's funny, though. I feel like everyone, either did a buddy class, a birthday party, or like a free white belt class.
Right.
It's one of the three, you know, and get the free uniform or something. So, well, that's cool. Sure. That's super cool. So how old were you when you started martial arts? You said you were 6?
I was 6.
What year is that? I don't mean to date you, but like just to put a reference on the timeline.
I'm 23 now.
Oh, snap.
So
you're not old enough to be having to do math in your head right now.
I don't know.
You're so young, you should be like, oh yeah, 6 years. I was like, yeah, it is. Okay, so it's not too long ago then. Yeah, so at that age, you've been doing it that long. And so you kind of mentioned it, though. You actually started your athletic career as a gymnast. Was that your first sport?
Yeah, so my mom put me in classes basically when I could start walking.
Wow.
She did gymnastics in college and stuff, so I kind of I think that's why she put me in it. Just she knew it would be good for me to know how to do,
Okay.
and I kind of just grew up doing that. My sisters did that as well, and I also do dance. But once I kind of started martial arts, my passion really went there.
That's
more
crazy.
so than the other two.
And does anyone in your family do martial arts? Your sisters, your dad?
So my middle sister, she tried martial arts classes, but it just wasn't for her. But my sisters, they do cheerleading. So.
Okay. And
They're flyers and they can tumble, and so
they're younger.
They're both younger than me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. At least you all got to do your own thing. I know in a family that can be a tough thing.
Yeah, they both did gymnastics and stuff, but they kind of found their own thing with cheerleading and with school and all that.
That's super cool. So when you were doing martial arts at your traditional school, at what point did you actually start getting into competing or I guess evolving from outside of traditional?
Yeah, so that's a good question because we're not a tournament school. So a lot of schools now at least like have, they have an in-house tournament or like they have a local circuit where they promote and they're like, okay, you can go and do like traditional forms there or even extreme. Like I know the ATA does that and stuff too. So with Kovars, that never was pushed, but we did have like a demo team for belt promotions.
Okay.
So each school has a demo team, and then there's like a big red and black attack. We called it team at like the main location. So like if you made it to the red and black attack, like you were it.
Yes.
So I did reach that goal of mine when I was younger, but I started on the local demo team, and that's where the extreme martial arts kind of got introduced to me, and I had no idea that existed. Yeah. And so one of the instructors at the school, Tiffany Kovar now, her name, original name was Tiffany Shane, so she married into the Kovars family.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and so, she knew a bunch of other Kovars instructors that had kind of gone into the NASKA circuit.
Okay.
They went to compete nationals and did a few more of the local ones, and that's kind of who introduced me to this whole world of extreme martial arts.
Wow.
And with my gymnastics background, like I kind of started to pick up the tricking a little bit easier. It was a big challenge tumbling into tricking, so I was kind of more like acrobatic tricker at first. The kicking was totally different for me, but yeah, that kind of started my love into it. And then I went to local tournaments with her and just kind of went from there. And the first tournament that I went to, I think it was like in Stockton.
Okay.
It was pretty close to where I was up there. And so I won my division and I left. Because I was like, that's it. And that was really cool. And yay. And I left. I got called, like, we're halfway home. And they're like, where's Kenzie? She's got grands. Yeah. Like, she needs to come back. And I was like, what's grands? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I won it. Like, what do you mean?
Like, in gymnastics, you go once. That's it.
Right.
You do your routine one
time.
Yeah.
Right. And so we turned back around, went back, and it was like a 17 and under grands. And I won grands. So I won, like, my first tournament, which was pretty cool. And
that would be an addictive feeling.
It really was. Yeah. And so I started, in the local circuits, kind of got to where I was dominating there and just built my way up into different circuits. I did MBL, which is where I met Rudy and Scott Wu and James Solis. And those were kind of my original instructors when I started out. And so I got really lucky with who I was surrounded by, because for a long time I was like, nobody's up here and kind of alone. And Kyle Cordova's from that area, so he helped me with tricking stuff too. And I was younger, and so Rudy and Kyle were my instructors.
Little did you know you were like living in the mecca of kind of like tricking and also like a little movement of sport karate, because there were a lot of tournaments in Stockton, Modesto. There was like Shark City Nationals.
Yeah, I went to Shark City. Yeah,
exactly. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then obviously there was a bunch of tournaments like Golden Gates. So there was MBL, TPA, and then obviously the big stage was NASKA. So you were really lucky. Without knowing it, you were in the center.
I started at a good time for sure.
That's crazy. And now this isn't like a sexist question, but like it's something I've always wanted to ask you, which is like, do you remember what it was that made you so into martial arts? Because I feel like as kids, like Connor and a lot of our other guests have talked about it, like we were obsessed with Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles. So like it was a natural transition where we almost begged our parents to get into martial arts. Right. And yours was like a little different. You actually got put in there because of a friend that had no kids or friends. So like, what was it?
I remember watching those shows, but I don't know. I had other shows that I was more into being a girl and having sisters. Think if I had like brothers, it could have been different. But I think it really was just I don't know. I liked everything that was that challenge, like where I could be pushed, and I always wanted to be like the top of my class. Okay. So I was in like the black belt club, and so even if it wasn't sport karate related or like in the extreme martial arts, even in regular karate class, like I don't know, I always wanted to be that top person. I think that really went into like the tricking world too, because I never, even in that world, like tricking, I never thought of, you know, being the first girl to land things or like I wanted to do this first. It was my goals that I had in my head that I was like, I have to get this. And it was like an obsession. I couldn't stop until I did it.
That's cool.
So I don't know if that's what it was, but I think also knowing I kind of stood out too helped.
Okay. No, totally. That too, I think that's kind of a trait that we see with a lot of people that are like very successful, whether it's like sports or business. It's like an addictive personality, but more so like just a personal drive that exists within you. No one's telling you to train and get better. You're just doing it because you want to get better. And that's a trait that sticks with you throughout. So yeah, we obviously got to see the results of that in all your training. So at what point do you start competing on NASKA? Do you remember how old you were? Yeah,
so I started in 2007. And 2007, I started doing just a few tournaments just to kind of see like, because even though I did tournaments, it was such a jump between NBL, you know, local tournaments and then NASKA.
It's like going AOISO soccer and then playing like professional high school and then going to pros.
It was like whoa, like I was good where I was and then I'm like bottom of the totem pole here. Like I have no clue what's going on. So that's when Kono magazine was around too. So I would read Kono. Oh yeah. And I remember seeing Tyler Weaver in it, and at that point, I wasn't with Rudy yet. Like I had no clue who they were, and I was introduced to James and kind of knew them a little bit, but I competed, and Tiffany Larson was the one in my division because it was like it was like 11 and under, and every girl was in that division at that time. She was like, "You're really good. Just keep your eyes up and look confident." And I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like they're giving me advice. Like that's so nice." And like, oh my gosh. So I remember running around that tournament, bugging everybody that competed. I went up to Rudy, and I don't even think he remembers that, but like I tapped him on the shoulder. He was about to go. And this is when he had like the little white, like the Rufio streak. The Rufio streak, and he did sync with Steve. Yep. And so like that was just kind of my starstruck. Wow. Oh my gosh. Like this is what I want to do. And I now have that next goal to get better for. And then I started doing weapons and with Rudy and stuff like that. And then my first full year was 2008. Okay. And that's the year that I started kind of winning in NASKA, which is pretty odd. Like that doesn't normally happen. I feel like it takes a little bit. And I think definitely my age group and like where I was kind of placed starting kind of helped with that too. But also I just kind of got put in with the right instructors and things just kind of worked out. And Rudy really pushed me to where I needed to be. And I think having, you know, not that he was a guy instructor, but someone who was so different than who I had trained with before was really good.
Yeah, and I think it really speaks to a lot of things, which is like, you had someone that was an instructor of yours that was actually doing it, like currently, you know. A lot of times you get instructors who like talk about, oh, I used to compete 10, 15 years ago, but you were training with someone on Team Paul Mitchell, dominating the NASKA circuit at the time. So yeah, you get to see a lot of it. Yeah. Connor, can you pull up one of our earliest tournaments? What's like the earliest tournament we've got on there? Oh no. 2007. Pop that one. There we go. So let's take a look at one of the earliest tournaments.
This is Golden Gate.
Yeah, exactly. This is San Francisco, right? California.
I think in the background you can hear my mom too. Like she's filming this and she's like, "Go get it." She's freaking out.
And so this is at the start of your competition career, 2007, right?
Yeah, and believe it or not, though, like this is still one of the better starting videos that's on YouTube, I think so.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and you'll see, like,
You're not on a
I'm
team
pretty
yet,
gymnastics wise though, and I'm representing Kovars here,
Okay.
and I'm wearing what we called the skunk belt. Like, I was a black belt, but I had like the white stripe through it, so I was a junior black belt. My hair is in like a tight bun, you could tell like I'm still kind of a gymnast in a little bit of a way. So this form was made by James Solis.
Okay.
And I think if you were to know him,
Yep.
You could tell with the kicks and kind of the big motions.
The pause breaks.
Yeah. Oh, some of this. Oh, man.
This is awesome.
So good, yeah.
It's so awesome to watch, though. But
I was really trying to be clean.
Yeah. Oh,
Pointed
look at the
toes.
Abatido.
Look at that. Everything. Pointed
into
toes.
the 540, into the raise. Yo. And so how long had you been tricking at this point, or were you just learning tricks for forms?
I was really just learning tricks for forms. Pivot gainer. I think just kind of learning tricks for forms. Okay. I didn't really know the tricking world, and I was introduced to loop kicks because they were kind of the only tricking group that I knew. And they were in Northern California, and pretty close. So I mean, my mom would drive me 2 hours close to every other weekend or anytime they had like a big event, and I mean, they really helped. Chris Tavera, like totally. Hans, Jeremy was kind of with that group too at the time. Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. And I was into it, and I think I won. So I was like, put it all out there. But yeah, like I did loop kicks camp a bunch. Like that's really where I started. I met McGuire Kane through loop kicks.
Okay.
I did all the camps, and I got to see the battle with Matt and Rudy and everybody when Matt had hurt his knee that year. Like I was staying with Mindy and Anise and Jeremy and all that group. And I was staying with them. Like it was their responsibility to take care of me as kid. I was loving. But yeah, like I remember growing up at Loop Kicks camps and just training with them, and that's kind of where I was introduced to more like battling and tricking. And I think if you were to look at like my videos, like across a long period of time, you could really see the change in my 100%. Tricking with them, because I watched a lot of videos. So before I even really started combos with Rudy, I would watch Mark Nonizzato on DVD. Totally. Like my first present was like I got a DVD player, and I got all these DVDs, and I learned off of really. There was YouTube videos, but like I would download them, and like it was DVDs. It
was all black and blue DVDs.
Yeah, and totally. I watched tons of DVDs. Sesh, I watched like everybody.
That's so
Jeremy,
crazy.
Steve, like they had like the old school videos they would film at tournaments on carpet, and I would watch those, and that's like I learned from those videos.
That's crazy, because we kind of saw it in your first tournament that we just watched there. Like you said, you were kind of doing more singular tricks, kind of playing into your gymnastic skills, but you still threw like a 540, and it was different,
A big challenge for me with tricking and like also in my forms was that since I started in gymnastics, I learned to tumble first. So I'm a righty, so everything I do, like twisting rise, went to my right. So cartwheel full goes to my right side.
No way, but you cork now to your left.
I have to just do it my bad side.
So you had to relearn.
So I chose to do my gainer good side and twist my bad side. So double cork took me a long time because my double full, cartwheel double full, goes to my right.
No
So my double cork, I did to my left.
So you had to learn both sides. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
So it's not till like recently where I didn't even really try it until recently when I was like, yeah, let's try double full the other side. I can double cork that way. Let's try double full. So now I'm like really trying to get that other side more consistent, because if you watch like my old tricking videos and like from Dreadnought 2011, you would see me do a combo where I'd go combo something, touch on double cork, double full, back the other way. And everyone's like, what do you, like, why don't you just combo that? I'm like, I just don't do it that way. So B twist, everything goes to my right, better. And then kicking wise, everything goes to my left. So it was hard to combo stuff in the beginning.
What's the hardest skill you worked up to in gymnastics? You finished at level 9, right? Mm-hmm. Connor, pull up one of those videos. What's the hardest skill that you did by then on the floor? Was it double full? We were working double.
Yeah, I could double full on the floor. That was in my floor team, but I was working double back. That summer that I decided to, and I wasn't going to quit, but I was kind of like, I really want to give martial arts a shot because if I were to do it, like, right now I'm starting to win, and So I think I was level 8. Also, right? I think this was level 8.
Okay.
And I know gymnastics has changed a lot since
totally
here. And check this out too. So my gymnastics coach's name was Mr. Miyagi.
No way.
Yeah, no joke.
That's so funny.
But
what are the chances?
His daughter, she was a stunt double in the movie Stick It.
Oh, no way. The gymnastics movie. Yeah.
So I love that movie when I was growing up, and mostly because I knew she was a double in it. And that was kind of too, I'm like, oh, I could double. Like that sounded so cool to me at that time.
Dang.
And then I had no idea that's actually what I wanted to go into.
You would end up doing it.
Oh,
that is so
in this
crazy.
floor routine too, you can see me do a parafuso, and at the very end.
No way.
And the judges didn't know how to score it.
Oh, because you took it from
I
martial
gave
arts.
people so much trouble trying to do that, but I wanted to be different, and
yeah, no, that's super cool.
I think I only did a full in this one.
And how old are you here? This is 2009.
Yeah, I was 12.
Okay.
12 or 13.
All right. I know. Where's this parafuso at?
Oh, you're getting to it. Oh, you're getting there. I think I do a kip up too here or something.
She did a coffee grinder into a windmill.
Oh, kip up's coming. And there it is. But I had like gymnastics. It,
100%. Yeah, you couldn't make it snappy. You had to make it long.
No, I had to make it really pretty.
Wow, front tumbling. All right.
Damn, I definitely liked front tumbling. Here it is.
Hey, parafuso.
Bam, really pretty.
And they didn't know what was happening.
Toes, everything.
Yeah. That's crazy. Wow, so that's so cool.
Oh, man.
So at what age do you think that you really started taking tricking seriously? Because obviously you started integrating into your forms, but you kind of mentioned it, like you started going to the loop kicks camps, you started battling on your own.
I think 2008 was like the first year I went to camp to like learn tricking and to do camp.
So shortly after you started competing.
Yeah.
It's kind of a part of your martial arts origins.
2010, I think, was like the breakthrough year where... Because corkscrews gave me a really hard time.
Yes.
And I was so determined not to give up
100%.
on them. And I remember going to Rudy in one of our training sessions. And I mean, Rudy, like and back then he like didn't talk very much.
Of course. Yeah,
so like training with Rudy, I got maybe like a couple sentences from him. But that made it, I don't know, like I knew that I was doing good if, I got something from him. But
that's crazy.
He could just give me a look and I'm like, oh yeah, sir, I'm going to do it again. Okay. I was like, I want to learn a corkscrew. Like, can you kind of give me some of the steps? And he was kind of like, throw your leg up and twist.
Yeah.
And at that time, like, there's no mats. Like, when we were practicing, like, we don't compete on mats. And that was new into, like, me competing.
Yeah.
There was tournaments, like, you're competing on a hardwood floor or,
especially the
carpet. It was carpet.
Ones.
A lot was carpet. And so I'm like, okay, we have like a carpet when we're training. And he was like, throw your leg up and go. And that's kind of how I started going into corkscrew. I wasn't at like a gymnastics gym or anything like that. And so...
Yeah, I know you used to track your cork progress. That was like a big thing for you because there was a while. There's like
and
a
I'm
series
twisting
of
my
videos.
bad side too.
Yeah, there's a series of videos online where you're just trying to just land corks, like cork training, So,
yeah, different setups and
that's crazy.
But yeah, that 2010 was like the year where I started getting like box cutter more consistently.
Yes.
And like I had done it, but more consistently, and like double fulls to where they look like tricking cartwheel double fulls.
Yes.
And not round off double fulls. And comboing my tricks. And I think at that point though, I still had cartwheel full on my right side. I didn't have it on my left yet. Okay. But I was swinging corks. My first cork swing through, I think, was like cork. I think I skipped gainer. I was like, I'm just going to go for cork. Yeah. And I think I did out of a spin setup.
Okay. Oh, yeah. The turn
like
step.
Spin, cork. And then cork gainer. And that's kind of the year I started taking that more serious, going to more gatherings. I went to Dreadnought. I got like 720 twist either in 2010 or 2011.
I think 10. How often are you training tricking at this point? Like, are you training every
now,
day?
Not as much as I want. It's been hard, when you're trying to juggle with like sport karate and, train for forms.
Yeah.
And I teach a lot and I'm like traveling for seminars and that kind of stuff. And then more recently moving down here and starting the whole new world of stunts. So like I trick, but like how I want to trick right now, not as much. And I still have tricking goals that like I want to get. So
what about back then? How much were you tricking? Were you tricking every day?
Yeah. Because I was just in school and that's all I did. And I would go to tournaments, but it was a lot easier when I was younger and my body could recover a lot quicker. And, but yeah, like I think I was tricking like every day, every other day. And that really is the key for tricking if you want to like accomplish the goals, especially at that time that I wanted to get. Like I needed to be consistent.
Totally. Yeah. And so was one of your first goals double cork? Was that like the first major one you were chasing?
I think I had like little ones before then.
Okay.
But then I think in my head when I realized the hype of double cork too, that helped. That kind of helped like, this is a trick hype. That like and
this will get people
It was that and like the realization of myself like, oh, I'm kind of close. Like I was like, oh wait, like I can do this. I mean, there's videos I'm doing it on grass with my little flip camera.
Totally.
Remember those things, like little flip cameras?
I totally know which one you're talking about.
This one was really close. Yeah. I thought I landed it that day. Swear to goodness. And I was like, you can see I'm like telling my mom. She like looked at me like, why'd you do that? I'm like, I didn't mean to.
I totally know which. I have seen the other videos where
that
you have
was
just
like
way
a little, too easy too. I could have landed it then.
I've seen when you had a little blue mat in the grass and you're training and stuff.
And there's some videos where like I don't have that mat and I'm not close at all, and I'm like falling hard.
Totally.
And I don't know why that was the one, this video. I don't know why that was it. And I decided to not put my hand out on that one.
And so what we're looking at for those of you that are just listening to the audio is in 2011 Loop Kicks Camp, she landed her first double cork out of hook, touchdown raised double cork. And this was just in the middle of a session, right? This is just...
Yeah, I think this was camp, but this was like, I think close to the end of camp.
Yes.
This was, yeah.
And now question for you. How many girls have landed double cork before that?
I don't know.
It's a tough one, right?
I think like there was someone who
there may have been a girl in Europe, to do it. Right?
Oh, I don't know. But I think she did it out of a cartwheel. I don't know if she swung it.
It may have been like that cartwheel switch thing, right?
And I'm not sure, but I think double cork, it might have been the first one.
It may have been one of the cleanest ones.
Because too, like, I was doing out of Gumby, and like you had the trickers out there. They're like, "Oh, that's tumbling. You're inverting like a gainer twist." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll change it."
Yeah.
And then I did touchdown raise, and that was like the magic.
That counted.
Setup.
That's so funny.
And that kind of got my spin a little bit flatter, and it worked.
Okay. Well, I know maybe the double cork is up for debate, so to speak, and you landed that at Loop Kicks, but I think one of the things that we have to talk about that you've contributed is first female to land snapuswipe.
Oh, it's my favorite trick.
And you not only landed it at Loop Kicks, you landed it in the middle of a battle, which is epic.
I was losing so hardcore to Dallas Lou, and I was like, you know what? Let's try it again. Yeah. And
it's right after this combo.
Dallas is killing me. This is before Dallas grew.
Yep.
And
he was a monster.
Sporting
the jam shirt. I was stoked.
Yeah. Dallas is legit, and he was killing me, and I was like, well,
yep, here it is.
Let's try it again, because I have only done like 20 today already. So.
And here you go. You step out in the middle of the battle.
And with the kick and everything, and then I got tackled. So I was really excited.
And you know what's so cool to me
really
is that, like, what's really cool to me about this story, and may not hit home to a lot of people, which is you landed your first snapuswipe in a battle at Loop Kicks, and your coach, Rudy Raynown, landed the world's first snapuswipe swing through ever at Loop Kicks in a battle.
That's pretty cool.
And to me, that's pretty damn cool to have a student and teacher both land a world's first related to snapuswipe at the same camp in a battle. It's pretty damn cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah,
it's pretty damn cool. Yeah, something you guys can share forever. Yeah. And what was that like when you landed snapuswipe? Because obviously, all we get to see is the video and hear people going at you. But what was that feeling like? Being the first woman to land a snapuswipe.
I mean, that and double cork, or really any trick that like I kind of have my mind set on, is just kind of that. Oh, I did it. Like, because before I landed both of those, it took me a while to land it. Like, and not just like land it, but like I was landing them with my hand touching, and it was so frustrating. Because I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing that. And there's a lot of times where I was like, I didn't need to, but if I could have, I would have picked my hand up. Of course. But it was just kind of like, okay, like all that feeling of getting discouraged before, like not landing it for so long, kind of wondering like, am I actually going to land this? Because I feel like I would have done it by now. It just kind of was like, oh, I did it. So it wasn't, I made history or like anything weird like that. It was just like, oh, I did my goal. And how do I combo it now? It was like the next, like, okay, what do I do next? It was, what's my next thing now that I did this? Like, how do I combo it? How do I swing it? You know,
it's
like
almost like a sense of relief as opposed to like celebration.
Yeah. It was like, yes, I did it.
Now I can move on.
Now I can move on to the next thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Damn, that is so crazy. Well, the coolest thing about that is that not only did you land it, but it's on video, and you'll have that moment for the rest of all time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's super cool. Now, along the lines of like your tricking and stuff like that, the cool thing about you starting tricking in 2010 is that you're young enough that you are in what I call the new school generation, which is like you guys had access to be able to put stuff on YouTube. Like all these videos we're showing are from your actual channel, whereas a lot of us older guys like were documented by other people. Like Anise never put out videos himself; it's always by others. But like you're from this generation where you pretty much got to document yourself and put things on there. And one of the things you really put a lot of attention into that I don't think a lot of others do now is just you put out a lot of samplers. You were putting out like a sampler a year at one point.
Yeah.
And
my dad made this.
Yeah, it was cool.
I wasn't putting it out.
There's one that he definitely made, which is like the dedication to you, which is like all the years of training when you're like a little kid all the way up, which we'll throw on the screen to embarrass you, which is hilarious.
Nice. Yeah.
But more than anything, is there a sampler in your mind that stands out as pivotal? Like Connor, pull up the list of samplers right now so we just take a look at some of them, for example. Like we have The Journey, we have Awakening, Wild, Perfect Dream, Essence. Is there one that stands out in your mind as a favorite one, or one that you like were the most proud of? Or is there anything that like those stand out for landing certain things in your life?
I don't know. I think they're all, I think at the time, each one of them like meant a lot. Perfect Dream had some good stuff in there.
And it's great.
I think my more recent one, like the 7 one, and it's not even recent, it's still pretty old. Matt put that one out first. He made it, the 7 one. That one had some good stuff in there too, but I think more so just like the individual stuff that I landed before I put them in the samplers. I mean, that one, like that Cork extravaganza, I'm like looking at that. Oh my gosh.
That's the one where you're just trading on the grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
But I don't know if one of them stands out to me more than the others, because at the time
they all meant something.
They all had something that I'd been working on, or like combos that I was trying that were different.
Connor, look at which one has the most views. Because what's crazy to me is that your most viewed video is an old one. It's not a new one.
It is? Yeah. I don't even know what's
the most
viewed.
Go to her account and look up the most viewed video, Connor. Yeah, her most viewed. Go videos and then click. Yeah. So your most viewed video and sampler. No, it's not 7. It's Wild.
So Wild, yeah. So which is Matt and Nikki went with me to do this. So Matt set it up. I filmed with Andre, who had done some videos with Matt before, and this was kind of like my first demo reel.
Yes.
So I had never done anything outside like this. I mean, I'd done some like hyper shoots or something like that, but this was different. This was like I had to get all my stuff, all my outfits, like weapon stuff, like together, just to put something together at the time, to show that I could do a bunch of different things. So we filmed this in Venice.
Yep.
Went to just different places, filmed all day. There's like a blooper reel too that Matt put together, and it's pretty funny.
It's so funny.
I'm like, am I done yet? Like, have I filmed enough? Like, am I done?
That's so funny. And now, how long have you been training with Matt for, and like what influence did he have on your martial arts?
Because
at one point,
a lot.
Yeah, at one point you were a member of Team Emic, right?
Yeah. So I thought it was after this or during this time, I think. But yeah, so I'd always looked up to Matt when I started competing, of course. It was hard because he competed against my coach at the time, Rudy. So it was hard for me to like cheer against Rudy. But I mean, Mark, Calman, all of them, like they were all huge influencers on my style, or like, you know, my involvement in martial arts. And Matt became my coach in 2010. Rudy kind of had moved on down to LA and started his thing, and just couldn't commit to training me like he had been, and he wasn't doing NASKA anymore. And Matt was still kind of in the game, wanted to do his team and kind of build that up. So he started giving me some private lessons, and it was different. He has a similar style to mine, but it was different because I was used to just Rudy. So it was cool being challenged in that way and learning some new stuff from him. And then I was on his team and traveled with him, for different seminars and stuff like that. I would go and stay at his house here in LA with Danny or Austin Crane and train just for like a weekend. And but yeah, Matt had a huge influence on me wanting to do stunts and me going as far as I did in martial arts, in like sport karate. So
yeah, totally. And you kind of mentioned at a certain point, Rudy had made the decision to move down. Matt hadn't moved just yet. At what point did you hang up the towel on competition, or are you still in the mix, so to speak?
I'm hanging it up.
Okay.
So just I finished US Open really well this year.
Yes.
And last year I kind of did something that I've never done before, like the last few years. So I had my knee surgery, just some meniscus surgery in 2016. And kind of after that, I was like, okay, well, I'm not sure if I'm, at the point ready to move yet. And I still feel like I want to end like on top of like totally. This whole like legacy that I've built for myself, like in this, in sport karate. So I really like changed my training style up, just training a lot smarter than what I was before, and pretty much dominated from 2017 till now, and won like double grands at most every tournament that I went to. And I was only doing the Paul Mitchell sponsored events. So it wasn't all of them, but just most of them. And US Open 2018, I won all my divisions. I won the NASKA overalls and the ISK, and I've never won double ISKs before. I have a tough division, or like when I was in juniors, I had Micah for a long time,
which is hard
and
to go
I had
against,
Tyler Reed or like Jackson, whoever it was. And Micah really was
2018.
the guy who pushed my tricking. Like I was throwing box cutters in my form. Like I was trying 1080.
Just
like
to keep up.
A lot of times I fell on my butt, but I was trying like to do anything to be competitive with him. And I think I won once, but that was like, I did it one time. But I really... This year, this was 2018, right? Yeah. So this was the year I was like, this is crazy, right? Like, I've never done this before, and I didn't want it to be a fluke kind of thing. Like, I just got lucky. I don't know. So this year, I was like, I'm going to take it tournament by tournament. But at US Open again this year, I did the same thing as I did the year before. And I was like, okay, well, I'm kind of at that point where I'm ready to move on a little bit. So I still have a lot of students, in the circuit, so I want to continue teaching as much as I can and helping them. But as far as competing right now goes, I'm not sure how many more I'll do.
Totally understandable. It's just cool to see the progression from the first one we saw in 2007, where you start your form by doing like a front aerial, and then you do this Webster with like an actual thing. Webster. You know what I'm saying? But like you could see the progression. Like you did a loser step back here, and the first one you totally did a front aerial from gymnastics.
That's what I knew.
Yeah, no, it's cool to see the progression. And one of the things you touched on, which is like something that I've always wanted to talk to you about, and more than anything, just give you a lot of respect and props for, which is like you talked about how you had to try to keep up to battle Micah on the guys division. To be very honest, your entire career in tricking and in sport karate, I remember you having to battle Danny Etkin at Dreadnought, having to battle Dallas Liu at Loop Kicks, having to battle Micah Carnes on stage. You pretty much have always had to go against the guys.
Yeah, and that's how I want it. Like, that's how I wanted it the whole time,
That's what I wanted to know. Was that a driving force, or did you ever feel like unfair? Like, did you ever feel like this isn't fair?
Oh, I never felt like it was unfair.
Okay.
I don't know. I never really thought about being one of the only girls at the time, like at that level against them, because I just wanted to beat them, or like I wanted, I wanted to be at their level. It never was like a realization of like, oh, I'm a girl doing this, or like, I don't know, you know what I mean? It just was kind of like, I'm at that level, like I'm there, so I just gotta keep pushing myself to like do the next thing. Damn. I don't know. I never really like overthought it. And a lot of people ask me that. It's like, oh, like how is it being the first girl? It's like, I don't know. Like it wasn't like that. Like I was one of the guys. I didn't see myself as anything different battling. Like I was one of the only girls at that 100%. Time being in the battles. There wasn't another girl in there.
There was another girl to battle. Yeah.
The Dreadnought battle that went on for like ever. There had to be like 2 separate videos for it. I was the only girl on that one. It's an honor to be a part of those big, significant battles like that, and being able to battle Dallas Lou or go against like Micah and even be in that category. So
I mean, you've even battled on a team with Matt Emmett going against Jacob Pinto and Andrew Franklin. Like, you've battled all the guys. Like, I know your battle history, you know, because I'm obsessed with tricking. Yeah. I know you've battled all the big names. It's crazy. Yeah,
and it was just, you know, because I loved it. Like, I love it, and I don't know, I didn't like overthink it. And I think a lot of people now, because there's a lot of girls getting into it, it's a lot like more populated with girls than it was when I started. When I grew up, like, I looked up to Mindy and I looked up to Gemma and even Caitlin. Like, there was girls out there that were throwing down, but it was like a corkscrew was like it. And it was like, okay, and like, I want to get that and obviously get better. But they were starting their career and they were starting like what they were doing too. So they weren't huge like into tricking, and I didn't really have a girl to look up to. So which was totally fine. Like, I wanted to look up to the best of the best. Like, I was looking at Michael Guthrie. I remember watching his videos like when he was young. Like everyone, Jeremy, like style moves. So like my dad had like a folder on my laptop of like style tricking and like twisting tricking, like watching like, so like he really helped me kind of pull from completely different people
to be influenced,
and to put into like what I wanted my style to be, because I didn't ever want to copy anybody, because that's not being original, but I had to learn from somewhere. And being in Northern California, like, there is Loop Kicks Camp and there was those guys up there, but they're also doing their thing, and
they're older than you.
And they're
have lives.
Well older than I was. Like, I was 11 or 12 starting it. So it was, and their bodies don't move the same as me. Like, it was it was hard for that too, because a lot of what worked for them doesn't work for me. Not just because I was a girl, but I was a little girl. Like, I wasn't like, I wasn't built like
didn't even
that.
have strength yet.
I was built like a gymnast, but I wasn't like able to support like my weight to swing a bunch of times, like until I got a little bit older. But yeah, I was just looking up to anybody who I wanted to be like. It wasn't like a girl or a guy thing. And I think girls coming up now should think the same way, because it shouldn't be any different. And if anything, I hope I can like kind of show that in a way. And like, there's other girls that are coming up too, or who are also really good that show the exact same thing as me. They're throwing down too, doing crazy stuff, doubles and
totally. And I think it's a great perspective to have. I mean, we don't ever look down upon like little girls who play basketball that may say Kobe Bryant's my favorite, even though he's a guy. Like, it's okay to have like intergender idols. It's just about following people that are the best or that influence you. So
and that's what I did when I was starting.
Heck yeah. And so, not to make this all about, you know, you just being a female tricker, but like, I really do want to cater to some of our female audience listeners that have been, you know, asking us to get someone on here like yourself. Is there any, you know, you kind of touched on it, there were little physical limitations being a female, but is there any advice that you would have for young girls that are starting off in tricking, as far as like anything to help them protect their body, or anything that you think would have saved you time and energy over the years? Because I was still in gymnastics for a lot of that time starting tricking, like, I felt like I was pretty well conditioned going in. So just keep up your conditioning and making sure you're strong going into a lot of the tricks, especially now, like with all the transitions and swings, and it's really hard on your ankles and your knees. And you know, just take care of your body. I wish I knew about like rolling your body out before. Like, no one did that back then. So like I mean, just listen to your body, because there was a lot of times where like I was so tired, but like I still tried to push myself, and I probably didn't need to go do double corks that day, and that probably didn't help. But just have a goal, journal, have like a list of like what you want to accomplish. But yeah, just take care of your body and be healthy. 100%. Yeah. And along the lines of that, I don't want to go down a bad path and bring up bad memories, but what happened to your knee when you tore it? Just for those out there that are listening that, you know, are maybe in a similar boat, because full disclosure, I've had 3 knee surgeries, one of which removed my meniscus, so I know all about meniscuses. Yeah. So I have no meniscus in my entire left knee. So my swing leg, that's why you won't catch me doing swing throughs, like multiple ones. I stopped like 9 years ago because they took my whole meniscus out. I'm bone on bone in my left swing knee. So it hurts just walking. Yeah. I'm not going to try to do gainer anymore unless I'm getting paid a shitload of money. A shitload of money. And I got it on tape, so I don't need it anymore. So it's all good. Yeah. But what happened to your knee? And was it something that happened tricking wise? Or, we just like to expose people out there, like, some of the dangers to be aware of and stuff.
Yeah. I didn't really talk about it much. Like I think I shared some videos like after my surgery just to be funny, but
no, you were super ninja about it. That's why I'm bringing it up now, which is a smart thing to do for kids out there. If you're injured in this career, keep it a secret until you recovered, and then let the cat out the bag.
Well, I didn't really know what was wrong with it either because I could still do stuff on it, and with meniscus too, what they like my doctors were telling me, it was like sometimes it'll really hurt and act up, and then like depending on your tear, like it could be okay, but it's not okay. It's not okay. Like you still need to get it fixed. So I was at the Hook Gathering in Amsterdam. So I brought out as a guest in 2015.
Yep, 15. Yeah.
So I taught a tricking seminar there, and I was just tricking, and it was like the last session after all the battles and everything.
Damn.
And at that time, if you watched my tricking, I was like spamming hyper nines, and like I couldn't stop doing that. But it was like one of my favorite tricks at the time, so I'm like, I like it. And so someone had asked me like, how do I do that? How do you get so much air on it? Whatever. And so I demonstrated it, and on that floor, it was super, super bouncy. Like it was so springy, more than I was used to. And I hadn't done that move that day, punching off of 2 feet. So everything I was doing was like swings or something that didn't really affect, like I didn't really feel the floor. And it was late too, and my body was tired. And I hyperextended my leg. And as I did it, my leg twisted. And I'm really lucky I didn't do like anything else to my knee.
Yeah, honestly.
But I heard like a really loud pop. Wow. Like it was like really loud.
Snap.
And I was like, is that me?
No
one else is tricking. So like I just kind of walked it off, and I was like, oh, like that just doesn't feel too nice.
Yeah.
And right before that though, like Jacob Pinto just got taken home like from his knee, and Nick Vale I think had a knee injury. Like everybody hurt their knee at that gathering in particular. And so I was like, and I never had an injury like that. Like ankle twists a little bit, like nothing too serious. I'd been really lucky with injuries.
Yes.
And so that didn't happen to me, kind of thing, and it was really swollen. And the next day, like I flew home, and I went home, and I was like researching, and WebMD kind of hinted at meniscus maybe, but I didn't know because I could still do stuff on it. So I kind of let it rest for like a month or two. And it was over the holidays, so it was a good time to kind of let it chill out. And then started doing stuff back on it, and it was okay, but it really hurt. And what it would do is, the way I tore it, I had a lateral meniscus tear, and you can imagine like a piece of paper, and like I ripped it from like the side through. So they couldn't go back and like stitch it or anything. They had to cut a chunk of it out. So I don't have my meniscus on the outside, just a little piece of it there. But what it would do is like when your elbow gets stuck and like
and you get locked,
and it would get locked. But it would do that like when I would trick or like do anything, and I never knew like when it was gonna do that, and that was really scary. So I competed all year with it like how it was, and it just wasn't right. Like sometimes it was okay, and then other times like it was excruciating, like it hurt so bad. So then later that year, and I did the surgery, and it was super easy. They just cut it out, and
you almost wish you did it sooner, right? That's what I
wish I did it sooner. But at the same time, like the surgeon that I went with first, like I went to talk about it, he kind of like gave me some weird vibes, and made me really unsure about doing a surgery with him, and just kind of what it was. Like I didn't really get a for sure answer, and I was kind of like, all right, whatever, like let's see how it is, see how it goes. And but I know how that goes though. I remember when I had mine, same thing. I tore mine. I kept working for 9 months thinking, I don't have time to take off. As soon as when they went in there, they're like, it's irreparable, you messed it up so bad. So that's why they removed mine. I had a meniscectomy. But I remember waking up from the surgery, and like I was walking like within a week, and I was like, why didn't I just do this sooner? Right.
Like I literally was flipping again in a couple weeks. I was supposed to take 6 to 8 weeks off. I was flipping in 2 weeks.
Right?
It's like, so kids, if you do get injured, It's great to listen to your body and rest, but don't be afraid to go seek out and find out what the problem is, because you may save yourself some time.
Well, 2 surgeries sound so scary, and I was like, I've never been put under before, and I don't like want to say that I've had an injury like that. Like that was a whole scary thought too, and I was like, I feel like I take good care of my body, and like it just was a fluke thing. Like that stuff happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't anything I really did wrong. Like I couldn't have changed it, you know. So
things just happened.
So it happened, and like I wish I did it sooner, but I'm also kind of glad I learned that lesson a little bit. And I was like walking that day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was super easy.
The scar's tiny.
I think I like let it rest a month. Like I didn't really need to do anything, and I was back and better than I was before. And I feel like Matt was the same way, and he destroyed his leg. Rudy was similar. You know, Steve, like everybody's had their injuries. ACL. Everyone's had their injuries, but you just have to like take your physical therapy serious. And
it's how you come back that really defines you, because you can either give up the journey, or you're like, no, this is just a little stop along the path. Right. So that's crazy. Well, we're glad to see that you're back and you're not as injured now, and obviously back to training and working on stunts and stuff like that. So is the goal right now to just go into stunt work full time? Are you trying to be a stunt double and a stunt performer, or do you have any other desires to like do live shows or acting at all? Or
I'm kind of open to everything right now. Just kind of trying to figure out what I like, what I don't want to pursue, but I think generally everything stunts related I'm willing and wanting to try and do.
Totally. So. And you kind of touched on it a little earlier. Have you done any other jobs so far that have stood out in your mind besides the mocap one, or is that technically like your first real job?
That was my first stunt job, so that was my first SAG job.
Yes.
I became SAG last year.
Okay.
I was SAG eligible for a long time.
Were you eligible from our show?
Yeah.
No
I was gonna say like you were the one that got me SAG eligible. Yeah. But at the time, like I didn't know if I wanted to do stunts or not. So I was like, I'm not gonna pay that if I don't want to.
So for those of you that have no idea what we're talking about, it was maybe like 4 or 5 years. I'll try to put the video online.
2014.
Wow, 5 years ago.
It was a long time ago.
So we did a show on NBC called I Can Do That, where we did a live stage show doing like sport karate, and we were picked by Sierra and Alan Richson. But it was cool. It was me, Kyle Cordova, Donovan Sheehan, Andy Lee, and you. And it was really cool, man. We got to be on a huge platform in front of the world doing tricking and sport karate. It was really awesome.
Pretty cool.
And you got tafted on there.
Yeah, I did.
Which made you SAG eligible 5 years ago.
Yeah, and then I finally paid it last year.
Dang, that's awesome.
But yeah, I got to do the job that I was talking about because I was SAG. So thank you.
Well, look at that. It all comes full circle, right?
Yeah, full circle.
Now I don't feel so bad about asking you to come down here. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's awesome. Really cool to see. And more than anything, like I said, what's really impressed me is that like we've been able to track your journey over all the years, and like we're still seeing you doing it, you know? And for those of you out there that actually want a chance to get to know you and meet and train with you, as of now, pending work, you're going to be going to the Jam Gallery.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And teaching a workshop.
And tentatively right now, we have a super badass workshop being taught by you, Matt Emig, Rudy Raynon, and Steve Tirado.
Yes.
It's going to be pretty legendary NASKA sport martial arts tricking workshop.
For sure.
With 4 incredible teachers.
They don't teach seminars anymore, so if you want to learn from them, I definitely would do it.
Trust me, I try to get them all the time.
I know,
all
the time. So I hope it works out.
No, that's really cool, and we really appreciate you being a part of it. For those of you that want to take her seminar, come out on November 23rd. It'll be on that Saturday, and we'll have the link here in the bio and everything like that. But yeah, it'll be cool. People will get a chance to come out and trick with you.
I'm excited. Yes, very cool.
Heck yeah. So real quick before we end things here, I ask everyone this question, especially the youngsters on the show. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now, and where do you see yourself 10 years from now, if that's not too far ahead to think?
Oh man, I'd like to be in movies, and as a stunt double, and Heidi Moneymaker is kind of one of the top stunt women I look up to, Amy Johnson. So just to be a pinky nail of like what they've done, that's kind of my goal. So day by day, I'm just kind of trying to accomplish that. So 5 years, I'd like to still be doing stunts. 10 years from now, I'm not sure. That's a little far, but maybe still doing stunts.
In 10 years from now, you'll be my age.
Yeah, still still doing martial arts, still doing what I love. So hopefully stunts, hopefully just still moving.
Hell yeah. Well, I don't doubt it at all. I mean, if there's anything that we've talked about on here, I think it's very clear that you're someone that's been driven since day one. And yeah, as we all know in this business, you go as far as you put the effort in. So we'll be very anxiously watching your journey, and hopefully you can come back here in a couple years and let's talk about the last major film project you've done, or maybe 10 years from now we'll talk about how you're hiring me, like,
oh my gosh. Yeah, right.
You never know what could happen, right?
I hope so.
You never know what could happen, and that's why you got to be nice and cool with everyone.
Yes,
so yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, more than anything, I really appreciate you coming out here and spending the time.
For having me.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you sharing your insight. I think that a lot of listeners will really dig it, especially the female listeners. So
awesome.
Heck yeah. Before we get out of here though, can you swing that mic in front of you, looking at that camera, and let people know where to follow you online?
Okay. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Mackensi_Emory.
Heck yes. And as always, guys, like we said, if you guys want a chance to train with Kenzie or take her workshop, please come out to the Jam Gathering November 22nd to 24th here in Reseda, California. If you want info, go to jam2019gathering.eventbrite.com. So with that being said, guys, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for JAMCast, interviewing influential members of the moving community like Miss Mackensi Emory. So as always, I got to give a special shout out to Mr. Connor Simon for running the switch wrap in the cameras. I got to give a special shout out to our guest this week, Miss Mackensi Emory. And as always, guys, I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here on another JAMCast. Until next time, we'll see you all soon. Peace.